In James Joyce's slightly autobiographical short story called Araby, we have first person narration from an unnamed young boy around 10 to 12 years old. And just by the first paragraph, there's negative Christian imagery and how the school sets the boys free as if it's a prison. There is personification and the way the houses along the street gaze at each other. The color brown is used to further describe the street as dull. Yet it is the children, upon being set free from school, that bring life to this otherwise quiet street. North Richmond Street is a real street, by the way, located in Dublin, Ireland. In the second paragraph, there is an allusion to Walter Scott's The Abbot, a novel also about romance and adventure. And there is both positive and negative Christian imagery. The priest's sermon notes are useless, yet he's a charitable priest. The Short Days of Winter, of course, is a reference to the sun setting so early in the winter. Typically, it's pitch black out by 5 p.m. And, like typical children, they want to stay outside and play until they absolutely need to head inside for the night. The houses grow somber when the kids play in the streets, because as mentioned in the first paragraph, where the kids are, that's where life and excitement happens. If we pay attention to the diction, we see the word dark is repeated 3 times. We also get other words that indicate darkness, like shadows mentioned 3 times, ash pits, and silence. But then, towards the end of the paragraph, the appearance of his friend's sister changes the diction. There is light that shines on her, and the narrator observes her dress and the soft rope of her hair. The narrator watches her, and being so young, can't think of a mature way of getting her attention, so he follows her. Then, when they go their separate ways, they attend different schools, remember he goes to an all-boys school, he quickly walks past her, to be noticed, and to also make it seem like he's not following her. Just the mere mentioning of her name makes him act foolish, yet ironically, we're never told what her name is. He thinks about her in places that you wouldn't typically associate with romance. Examples of this is school, church, hospital, etc. He is following his aunt through the streets of Dublin, and most notably are the people he is surrounded by, none of them sounding particularly positive. He refers to his feelings for his friend's sister as confused adoration, because he's at most 12 years old, and has difficulty naming how he's feeling. Is this love, adoration, infatuation, lust? Yet a simile is used to describe that he feels controlled by her, specifically with the things that she says and does. When they finally speak, it's a quick conversation regarding her desire to attend Araby, an Arabic bazaar, but she can't go because she's attending a retreat at a convent. The narrator uses this as an opportunity to win her over by wanting to buy something for her. And he's so excited to attend Araby that even though the rooms are high, cold, empty, and gloomy, he moves from room to room singing. The train ride to Araby is riddled with mostly negative language: third-class carriage, deserted train, intolerable delay, ruinous houses, etc. When Araby doesn't end up being the place that he built up in his mind, we're left with the last line, signaling the narrator's realization of his foolishness, which we'll come back to. So, we're left with some things to consider. There is a clear conflict with our narrator and growing up in Dublin in the early 1900s. Our narrator makes sure to mention that the children bring life to the streets, and when he's working his way through the streets with his aunt, he feels as though he's surrounded by adults who don't set a good example for him. If it takes a village to raise a child, what do you do if the village is filled with people that you don't respect? The next thing is that there's a theme of expectation versus reality. With respect to Mangan's sister, he expects that he will win her heart through buying her a gift. When he's actually so consumed and controlled by her, he doesn't even realize she's making plans on becoming a nun. As it's mentioned, she's going to a retreat at her convent. Given the time period, this would be a normal life plan for a young woman. Now, with respect to Araby, he has built up in his mind that this place will be enchanting and special, when in fact, it's run by English people selling English items, items he can buy down the road. There is nothing authentically Arab about this bazaar. He timidly works his way through the bazaar, and the one lady who actually speaks to him does so out of obligation. Next, there is a motif where James Joyce uses light and dark imagery. There are many examples of this in the story, and I mentioned some of the uses of the word dark earlier in the video. In the paragraph where the narrator is talking to his friend's sister, she is described as white and light, and those are used to demonstrate how angelic he believes that she is. When he looks at her house the night that he's heading to the bazaar, her house is dark. This is because she's at the retreat and therefore not home to bring light to her house. When he arrives at Araby, half of the bazaar is already in darkness, and at the end of the story they literally shut down the bazaar on him while he's standing there in darkness, which is just a wonderful comparison to how he's feeling, which is incredibly defeated. This leads us to the last line, where the narrator realizes he has been acting foolish. He has been taken in by her outward appearance and believing that material possession is the key to her heart. He looks up into the darkness and is angry at himself for abandoning his friends for a fruitless pursuit of love. And finally, there is evidence of internal alienation. The narrator purposely distances himself from his friends. At the beginning of the story, he's playing with them, but as soon as he starts courting his friend's sister, we notice things like his friends playing in the distance while he's talking to her. When he's about to go to Araby, he's up above, looking down on them playing below as if he's better than them. The belief is that being in love makes you more mature, so he decides to disassociate himself from them in order to pursue her, which he realizes at the end was a big mistake.